Okay, let's start with Selenium. Uh, so if you look at the syllabus that we have over here, it's like an introduction to Selenium WebDrivers. Okay, so so what actually this WebDriver is? If you remember, initially I talked about four like different components of Selenium. So the initial one is Selenium ID, which helps us automate the browser based on a recording tool. So that recording tool used to be part of Selenium ID. That used to be a Firefox plugin. Okay, so with that we can perform certain actions on the browser and they will be automatically copied, automatically recorded. So later if you want to like play that same thing again, so we can go back to our Selenium ID and we can run the test case which we want. It was a nice tool, but it had certain demerits in which it was not able to we were not able to record the things on a different browser because it used to be part of Firefox only. It used to be a plugin of Firefox. Now to overcome that, we have used Selenium WebDriver. So in this WebDriver, what actually happens is Selenium WebDriver, it gives us it gives us some APIs or some libraries using which we can choose a particular language, development language. So as we have chosen Java, so it can be any language, and we need to use the library of Selenium. Then using that Selenium library, we can call certain methods or certain functionalities of that browser. You can create certain objects of classes. You can create we can reference some of the interfaces. Okay, so using these utilities or these libraries provided by Selenium jar or Selenium library in Java, what we are going to do is we are going to open a browser, we are going to navigate to a URL, we are going to click on certain portion of the web page, or we are going to basically perform the task automatically, which we used to do manually. So the same thing that Selenium ID was doing can be done by Selenium Grid, Selenium WebDriver, but added advantage is it has the benefit of using a programming language. It will give us to write some logic based on if else condition. It will give us the flexibility to put the programming logics, so put the logic so that we can test in a better way. It will help us open, like you will get all the benefits of Java language, okay, or the native programming language that you are using. Along with that, you can use the Selenium's features. So if we talk about programming language features, it's a complete language, programming language. So with that, you can open a file, you can read and write to a file, you can read an Excel file, you can write data back to Excel file. Okay, you can maintain reports, you can create some of the HTML reports, some Excel reports, you can draw some pie chart. Okay, and if you want to like get some data from database, then you are going to put that into a browser. You can do that. You can connect to databases, right? You can there are a lot of things. You can put a loop, and using that loop you're going to like automate certain tasks repeatedly. So that is the help of programming language. If we combine that programming language feature or capability with this WebDriver's capability or Selenium's capability, it's going to be awesome. So now we are going to create a new Java project in which we are going to download, we are going to put a jar or a library file which is provided by Selenium. So let's do one thing, let's go to Eclipse and let's create a new project. So I'm going to create a new Java project. Okay, and this Java project is going to have, let's give it a name like Selenium demo. Okay, and click on OK. We have a new Java project created now. What I'm going to do is just remember these steps. When I want to add a library file or a jar file into our project, we need to basically put them, we need to copy and paste them into our Selenium like this source folder. Right? Create a new folder and let's give it a name like library or lib. Okay, that needs to be created just under Selenium. Fine. Now let's click on finish and you can see that folder is created. Now we need to go to a browser and we are going to go to seleniumhq.org. This is the main site for Selenium. Here you can find lots of documentation and all. what we need to do is we need to download certain things. So go to download section. Here is the main thing which we need. So we need to go to Selenium server standalone. Okay, so it has everything. So what we need to do is we need to download this version. This is a server standalone jar which is going to help us completely to like test Selenium code, and it may have dependencies on other jars or other libraries which are available on open source market, but it's a standalone jar, so it has everything inbuilt, so we can take that, and later on it is going to help us with Selenium grid also. So let's click on this, let's download this jar, and it has started downloading. So if we want to see, okay, it's downloading very fast, so it will be complete in a minute, and then we can go back to our Java project, and we're going to copy and paste it over here. Let's copy the jar. This is the jar. Right click, copy, and go back to a project and right click, paste. Now we have the jar file over here. So this jar file is basically a collection of classes. So if you open it using some WinZip or RAR file, or if you unzip this file, uncompress this file, then you are going to see a lot of class files present. Okay, if you want to do that, we can also do that using command prompt, using Java jar command. So open your command prompt or terminal. Okay, now let's do one thing. Let's navigate to our downloads folder, because I have that jar over downloads as well. So if you look at it, here is the Selenium server standalone jar. So you need to copy this name. Let's create a new folder on the desktop. Okay, yeah. Desktop. Okay, we're going to copy this jar to our desktop / Selenium. Fine. Now you need to go to desktop. So here we have the jar. You can use the jar command, and it's going to extract the file. So we're going to use jar x v and verbose. It will print whatever it is extracting, and the file name is Selenium server. Hit enter. So you can see there are a lot of jar files which are getting extracted from that jar. Okay, fine. Now let's list all the files that we have over here. You can see this is the jar on which we started with. Now it is extracted and it has all these files, So if you go into this org directory, let's go into that org, and if you go, there will be a directory called Selenium. If you go to Selenium HQ, fine, you will have a lot of packages. Okay, this is something which is a dependent jar actually, http. So we can do one thing, we can go on the top. Now this is the top folder where we have all these things present. If you hit the command tree and you list it, so all the files which are present inside it, you can go below. I'm going to search for a particular class file, click enter class. So these are all the class files which are present. So this is basically testng related things, or com.boost. So boost is the guy who actually developed testng. So we're going to go below. We can find where our Selenium code is. Otherwise you can search for Selenium directory. So Selenium, any jar which is having, okay, this is the like classes of Selenium: alert class, architecture, beta. So all these things are present. So basically these classes, they are going to take screenshot. So this is the class which is going to help us to take the screenshot of our browser. So when we are trying to run certain test cases, if something fails or if something passes, then we want a screenshot of that for proof later on. So during the test case execution, so we can call Selenium, and using this class we can basically create a screenshot of that browser. Then these are the Chrome driver. To automate the Chrome browser, we're going to use this driver class, Chrome driver. Okay, it's going to help us how we can communicate with the Chrome browser. Similarly, we have for Firefox, we'll have for Internet Explorer also. So if you go below, you'll find, one second, IE, the Internet Explorer. So lots of browsers are present. You will get Safari. This is the mobile network connection. Opera browser is there, right? So lots of things are present. If you keep a like have a look at this, you'll get to know that. So let's go back to our Eclipse project, and we can like see how to use that. Now what has happened, we have created a project Selenium demo, and we are going to write some source code within this, and this source code is going to be responsible for automating our uh, browser and our test scenario. But before that, we are going to take the help of these jar. So simply by copying the jar into lib folder, it is not like it's not going to help us write our code. It's not going to provide us the jars which we need, the class files or the utilities, the functionalities which we need. To do that, there is a concept of build path in Java. So the build path is something which is basically a supporting place, or it's a path in which you put all the class files, all the jar files, or all the property files, whatever file you are going to use in the project, that we need to put into the build path. So basically, if we put something into the build path, we can refer to them using our source code. So we're going to write certain source code over here, but this file is in the lib directory. We are going to add this jar file or the Selenium server library to the build path, so that we can take the help of those classes and we can use them in our source code. So let's right click on that. If you are into the package explorer or project explorer, you can directly add the file. Otherwise, you need to go to the properties window or the build path window, and from there you're going to add it. So we're going to go to build path and add to build path. So if you're finding this add to build path, it's fair enough. Don't do anything else. Just click on that. Otherwise, if you're not finding it, click on configure build path. Now you'll see this window. Okay, in this window we are basically going to add some library, right? So be on this library tab. You may be in projects or something, but come back to this library tab. Now here we're going to add some jars. Okay, add jars will basically look for jars within this Eclipse workspace or within your project. Add external jar will help you like search for jars which are present in your operating system in some external directory, may not be present in your project or in your workspace. So we're going to use add jars because we have that jar in our class path. Okay, we are going to go to our project, navigate within your project, go to library, select the jar, click on OK. Now that jar has been like added to our project, so it's a part of our project. If you expand it, you can see basically it is saying it doesn't have any source attachment. Like, we don't need that as of now. We just need the jar file. That's it. Let's go back and click on apply and OK. That's done. Now if you come back over here, you can see the reference libraries. This thing has popped up. It says that what are the libraries or like jars we're referring to. If you expand it, you will see it's a Selenium server jar. If you expand it, you can see what are the class files, what are the contents present in this jar. So these are the contents with the package structure. Okay, so fine. Let's go to source and let's create a new class. So we're going to create a new class which is going to open up a browser and which is going to basically run our commands, so that we can basically test the scenario that we want to test using Selenium. So let's create a new project. So we can create a new project where I click over source, new class. By clicking a new class, within this class you are going to write the code in the main method. So give a proper naming structure, com.example.selenium. Okay, like example1. Okay, fine. Now we have this class. Within this class, I'm going to create a main method, because the program execution will begin from here. Main control space on Eclipse, it will automatically print entire method. Fine. Now we have the main method. What we need to do over here, now the main thing starts. Okay, there is an interface, okay, which we call a WebDriver. So if you remember, interfaces basically are like they're just sort of rule makers. So they have the specification within them which are going to be implemented by certain classes. So we're going to create a new driver, or we're going to instantiate a new browser. So if you want to start a browser, we need to have a corresponding web driver for that. So now I'm going to start a single browser. So for that browser, and basically how to start that browser, I'm going to create an object of this WebDriver interface. We directly cannot create the WebDriver's object because it's an interface, so we'll depend on its implementation. So at any point of time, if you want to interact with the browser which is running parallelly, which we have created from our code, we should we should refer to the reference of this WebDriver. And if you click on control space, it will basically give you how you want to import it. Just remember, open org.openqa.selenium. This is the place where we need to implement it. Double click on that. Now that is implemented. If you go on the top, you'll find it. org.openqa.selenium WebDriver. That's imported now. Now I'm going to create the reference name driver equals to. Now if I want to create a new Firefox driver, then I'm going to do it this way. New Firefox.
Arya,
Yes.
can you come again?
Yes, I'll tell you. See, we want to open up a new Firefox browser, okay? And in Selenium, whenever we want to talk to a browser or whenever we want to point to a browser, we need to have a reference for that browser. So this driver is basically going to be a reference for the browser that we have opened. So this web driver is the interface which is having certain rules or certain methods which are implemented by this Firefox driver class. This driver is generic. It can have points, it can have it can hold objects of new Firefox driver, new Chrome driver, new IE driver, or whatever drivers they are supported. So WebDriver and driver, basically we are creating a reference to point to the browser that is opened in the real world. And here I'm going to say I'm going to create the new object. So this Firefox driver is the dummy constructor or the default constructor. So this driver, this constructor is going to look for Firefox presence in your system. So it doesn't ask for any path to Firefox or anything. So it's directly depending on your system, it's going to start a new Firefox browser. So if we run this code, it's going to start a new Firefox browser, and that browser's controller, that browser's control can be over here in this driver. So the next thing that I want to do is I can call a method called driver.get. So if you look at these methods functionality, what it does is it opens a URL in the browser. So we're going to use this method driver.get, and we're going to pass a URL over here. So when I pass a URL, that driver reference is going to point to the Firefox that it has opened, and it is going to call the Firefox browser. First you need to go to this URL. We're going to put a URL over here. So let's take example of one URL. Let's take example of our Selenium only. So this is the Selenium site. If we copy this copy, and it's directly going to go to the download section. You can see this is the downloads URL. So it will go to this download page. We are going to see that, and one sec, fine. So let's paste that over here. Right now, after this driver page is opened, what happens? Selenium tries to execute each and every line as quick as possible. It doesn't wait for you to see what is happening. It automates them. It thinks that it is very fast, and we are also that fast that we can understand, but actually we need to put some weight over here. So this is these are the some sort of code which is executed one by one. So in Java there is a command, there is a there is a method in thread class which we can call thread.sleep, and we can say how many seconds, how many milliseconds we want to sleep. Suppose I want to sleep for 2 seconds. So 2 second into 1000 milliseconds. So this is the 2000 millisecond, and it has it throws an exception basically. So we need to either handle it using try catch block, or we can skip that. We can use this throws declare. Let's click on throws. So interrupted exception is now thrown to the caller of this method. Now we have created a driver, new Firefox driver. We have created a new Firefox window now, and we have asked the Firefox window. We have given a command to move to this particular browser, and we are saying just wait for 2 seconds. Then after that, when the browser is open, we need to close the browser in the end. So how to do that? We are going to use the same thing. We are going to use the same browser handler that's called the driver reference, driver.quit. We are going to use this command, driver.quit. It's going to close the Firefox browser for us. Fine. So let's do one thing. Let's run this Java code and let's see how it is working. Now restore. Fine. Right click, run as a Java application. Open the console. Okay, so from Firefox 51 and above, this Firefox no more supports Selenium directly. It used to be a native support for Selenium. Now we don't have that support. So there is one more thing in between which actually does the task for us. So we depend on that. So that is called DecoDriver. So if you want to use the Firefox driver to run your Selenium commands, we need to send our commands to this DecoDriver. And this DecoDriver is indirectly executing the commands that are understood by Firefox browser. So to do that, we are going to go to a site where we can find this DecoDriver. Okay. So you may, in some browsers, you may encounter such a problem. Don't worry, you need to set a system environment variable. So to set a system environment variable with this name, we are going to use it like this. So before starting the browser, as it depends, see the problem what we are going to encounter is Java, which is there in Selenium. Like we have used Java and Selenium together in our code. So this code is trying to open a new Firefox driver. Okay, so this is a command, this is a utility of Selenium. But Selenium is not like able to connect to this Firefox browser which we have. It is unable to tell your system just to open a Firefox browser. So there are certain third-party tools which are available like DecoDriver. So this DecoDriver is going to help Selenium to start a new Firefox driver. So what we're going to do over here, we're going to tell Selenium like utility or Selenium library to find a DecoDriver in a particular location, and that location can be defined by a system environment variable system.setProperty. Okay, and the key is going to be this key, and this key is understood by Selenium. So while creating this Firefox driver, Selenium is going to search for this key. Is there any value associated with this key? Yes. So that value it is going to take, and it is going to navigate to that executable file, and it is going to communicate with that exe file. So new Firefox driver is not going to open a new Firefox window directly. It is basically calling this webdriver.gecko.driver to open a Firefox window for us. So Firefox driver to DecoDriver, and DecoDriver is indirectly going to open a Firefox browser. And this value is actually the path to the DecoDriver executable. So what are we going to do now? We are going to copy, we're going to download the DecoDriver. So to do that, let's go to Selenium site and let's go to Google and search for it. Selenium DecoDriver. Fine. Just go in. And there are lots of website available. We are going to go to, yes, this is the place, github.com/mozilla/DecoDriver/releases. This is the official release of DecoDriver. We're going to depend on this driver. Click on that. It will open up GitHub page. From there we're going to download it. Yes, it is saying, okay, this is the place where I want to download. So for Windows 32 or Windows 64-bit, you can download the respective one which you want. I'm gonna download the one for macOS. So this is a click on that. It's going to download. Perfect. Okay, now it's downloading. It's done. So we're going to go to that browser again, and we're going to extract it. Now I have extracted it. Fine. This is the small tiny DecoDriver which we have. So right click, copy DecoDriver, and as I said our code is depending on DecoDriver, so we need to put that driver in our source like location where we are basically running the code. So let's create a new folder. Right click new and let's call it a folder, and we're going to call it like drivers. Okay, now within these drivers we are going to put our DecoDriver. I've pasted it using Control V. Now this is the path on which, this is the actually executable file on which our Selenium code is depending. When I want to create a new Firefox driver, it is basically looking for such an executable file. So let's do one thing. Let's give this location. So it is basically relative to our this location, relative to our code. So our code is within this Selenium demo. So if you want to use DecoDriver, we can directly say drivers slash DecoDriver. Okay, sorry, you cannot open it because it's a binary file, it's not understandable by us. So let's go to drivers slash DecoDriver. So this is the location which we need to give to our code. Now save it. Now let's start the code again. Right click, run as new Java application. Okay, the driver is not executable. Okay, let's look at its permissions because we might face certain problems with the permission, which is not a problem in Windows systems. Mostly on Linux and Mac system it may throw some error. Let me check its permissions that we have. Okay, this DecoDriver is having read and write, read and read. So it doesn't have any permission for execution. So I'm going to give it permission to do everything. Chmod plus 755. So the same user can write, execute, others can read and execute. And DecoDriver, fine. Let's hope this time it will run because it was having permission issue. Let's check it again. Now it is having all the permission to execute. X is for permission X. So everyone can execute this driver. So let's run it again. Run as Java application. Fine. It has started. You can see the Firefox window over here. It has moved to Navi. Selenium. Now it's done. So let me run it again for you and click on run. This is the driver. It has started. It has navigated to downloads. Fine. It has waited for 2 seconds. Then it has quit. So if you want to do some more tasks, we can go to our browser. Let's close this one. Okay. Over here. Now we are in this page. Suppose I want to click on a link like source code. Okay. This is the link. Right click on it. Okay, there's nothing available. So this is basically Safari. So we'll depend on its source code. Let's open its source code by right clicking view source, or on your Chrome and Firefox you can use Control U to open the source code. Here I need to go to the source code. Fine. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's go to our Chrome browser. That's the best browser. Now we can find the source code. Okay, open up Chrome. I have opened up, paste, go there. So I'm going to open the inspection tool. In Chrome there is a tool called developer tools. You need to open that. You can right click and click on inspect wherever you find it. Otherwise you can go to this place, go to more tools and click on developer tools. Fine. Now we have the developer tools which is open. Right over here we have found that. What I need to do is I need to click on this link. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to inspect. So this is the place, this small arrow we need to click on that. Now its color has changed. We can go into our browser. So wherever we want to click or wherever we want to perform certain action, that's an element for us. So I want to click on this source code. So now this is focused. Click on that. You can see this is a link href and it's called source code. So there is one command which is basically going to find us that, which is going to locate us that element. So to find that element, we're going to use a command in Selenium. So let's go to, okay, sorry, fine. So over here we're quitting the driver, but let's wait for that. Let's not quit it right now. Now what we're going to do, I'll put certain comments. So register DecoDriver location. Now that's done. Now open up Firefox browser. That's run. Now we'll navigate to website. Fine. Now wait for 2 seconds. That's done. Now the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to find the element. Which element we are going to find, that is defined over here. So whatever element it is, so we're going to find the element using Selenium library. Fine. So we're going to take the help of Selenium library to find that element. Now how to find that element? So okay, once we have found that element, now we're going to click on that. Okay, click on the element. Now we're going to wait for 2 seconds more to see actually it has clicked and it has navigated to a new page. So we'll wait for 2 more seconds over here. Fine. Then we're going to quit the driver. Close instance of Firefox. So it's basically going to close the instance. It's going to close the Firefox window which has opened for us. Okay, to find the element, we are going to depend upon this. I'll make it a little large for you. So this is one HTML element. It's an anchor tag, actually, anchor tag, and this is the link where it is going to navigate, and this is the visible text source code. So if you go under the top, this is the source code text which is visible. So you're going to tell Selenium to navigate, like to go through all the source code available in the page and look for an anchor tag, which is basically having this text. So source code should be visible. So if it is having source code as the linking text, or what we call it, ahref, this code, so if source code is visible, so it is going to find that element for us. So it is going to find this entire /ahref source code /a. So this entire thing is going to be retrieved from this browser. So I'm going to tell Selenium to do that. So how to do that? Let's go to our code. Okay, so that element is basically called a web element. We need to import because it's part of Selenium library and we need to use that. So control space, go to org.openqa.selenium.web element. We need to import this one. Double click, it is imported. If you go onto the top, you can see web element is imported now. Fine. Okay, now let's do one thing. We need to find that element and locate that element and put that into a reference. So let me call it a source code link. Basically we're going to find this element equals to how we're going to find. If you remember, I said you, whatever operation we need to perform on the browser, we have a handler or we have a controller for that, and that's called this driver. This is the driver reference. Using that, we are doing everything. So now we need a link which is present in the page within the browser. So we're going to call the driver interface to find us this href element. So we're going to call a method which is present in the driver. So driver dot find element. So this element, this method we are going to use. So it is going to find us that element. Driver dot find element. Click on it. Okay, now the second part is even more interesting. We are going to find the element based on a lot of conditions. Anything can be used. We can either find an element using an attribute called ID or class or the tag name itself. So anything we can use, but now I'm going to use a specific thing that is called like this is the visible text. So let me open up, and so all these things, like how we're going to find that element, that is defined by another interface that's called by. So by dot, then I'm going to call link text. Okay, so this link text is nothing but, so if you point to this link text, so what it is asking, so if you call this method, it is going to search for all the links available. So if you encounter an ahref tag, a tag, it is having href, that means that a tag is a link. So link text is source code for us. So if you look at these, this is saying this is the a, so this is a link and this is the text. So this is the link text. If you put your mouse on this, it will show a hand. So let's do that. So this is the link text. Now it is showing a hand. If you click on that, it's going to navigate to a browser, to a different website, or to a link. So that website is defined here. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to call the link text method. Okay, and we're going to pass source code. So let's copy this source code, copy, and let's paste that over here. So it is going to find that element using the link text, whose link text is source code. Fine. So let's give a semicolon to end the statement. That's done. Now we have found the element source code link. What we need to do is we need to click on that element. So either we can click using, so as I said, we're going to depend on this driver reference all the time to do that. But right now we have like received one fragment of that driver by calling driver.findElement. So this thing is very specific to a particular link. So we are going to a particular like task, to a particular element. So we have found the source code link. That's an element. We are going to click on this element. So indirectly this driver is performing all the operation right now, but we are not able to see. So we are going to call a method on this element. So source code link, basically this link is now pointing to this source code, this element. I'm going to perform click operation. Done. I have clicked on that. Now it will navigate to a new page. It will wait for 2 seconds. Then we're going to quit the driver. So let's do one thing. Let's start the code execution. Right click, run as Java application. The view Firefox window is open. It's navigating to downloads, and it has found that element and it has clicked on that. Fine. So this is how we are like going to create a new driver. We're going to call separate methods of that driver instance or the driver reference, and always remember whatever operation, whatever task we're going to perform in the browser, that is going to be done by this driver reference. We're calling new Firefox driver, and Firefox driver is directly not supported by Selenium, or Firefox doesn't support Selenium. So whatever it is, Selenium is not able to communicate directly to Firefox. So we're going to depend on a DecoDriver. We're going to set the DecoDriver executable files path over here using a system.setProperty method of Java. So Firefox driver is going to look for this key and its value. So once it has found that, it's going to send all the commands like creating the browser, going to a particular URL, or like finding a link. So everything, all this communication is going to be done via DecoDriver. Now this is the new Firefox driver. It has opened up a new Firefox window for us. Now driver.get, it's basically saying to navigate to this URL, and we are waiting for 2 seconds. Then we are finding a web element which is found by using the link text. This is the way how we find one element. The link text is source code. It has found that element and it has performed the click operation. So click is normally how we click on that. It has waited for 2 seconds and it has quit the driver, Firefox driver.